Uncensored, no holds barred talk. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. This is the Global Reality Radio Network.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another live edition of the Global Reality right here on the Global Reality Radio Network with me, your host, Josh Reeves. Thanks for being with us tonight, Moonbats, and staying up late with us for another live edition of the show. It is the 25th of April, 2012, into the 26th of April, 2012. Thanks so much for joining us and being here with us tonight. And we've got a lot of news and information to get into with you here tonight, maybe a few emails as well as our continued series of reading of the astral plane and its inhabitants there. Going to be reading more of that for you here tonight as well on the show. So thanks for being with us. And, those of you who heard my little small mini broadcast last night will be happy to be informed that the people yet again have spoken, and this time they've spoken in our favor. So we got quite a bit of help towards our goal today from our listeners out there, and we've got about 450 left on the chip-in banner, and if we get like maybe 200 of that by like Friday and the rest by like Monday, we're going to be good to go. We already are a lot closer than we were, so we're not in the danger red zone anymore. So thank you so much to everybody out there for pulling together for the cause, for pulling together and hearing my words and understanding that, I wouldn't even have made the plea had the work that I'm working on right now not be as important as it is. It's just unbelievable. And that duality I spoke of last night is just, it's a mind-blowing thing, because I don't know. I guess I tend to think that if one is going in the right way, that should be benefiting the other. But it's very difficult because, and I had this problem last year when I was making Seek Right Volume 2 when I was finishing it up, because I had I was starting to gain some momentum last year from my first appearance on Red Ice. And some various other shows, YouTube videos and stuff that I've done. People were starting to find me through the readings of the books I'd done, like Gods of Eden, and after that, the Sitchin stuff that we did. And I had some momentum going, and I had to take quite a bit of time off from the show because of my dad passing away. And that really hurt me, and it hurt me in more ways than one when my dad passed away, because it was so weird. It was like people that I really respected and liked and had been longtime listeners of my show. It really was strange. They had just started attacking me and sort of kicking me while I was down, and we had it was almost exactly a year ago, I guess. Now my dad passed away on May 20th last year, and right around that time when I was having to not do shows because my dad, being in the final stages of his cancer, and having to just being away, I couldn't focus on doing this stuff at all, man, during that time at all. I didn't know if I was ever going to do it again, to be honest with you, after he passed away. I don't know. You kind of feel lost there for a minute, and then you got to get your footing back and remember what your mission is. But, so that coupled with, also having to take time off away from the show to do to finish the Secret Ride Volume 2 and get that job completed, and really the short amount of time in which I got that movie out after being able to get a Mac was just unbelievable. Within a month and a half or so after getting the computer, that's how large my productivity is going up. I mean, I wouldn't be near where I am with the new film had it not been for us being able to get this Mac to do this work with. The only thing that sucks about that is that during both those times, our support that we were getting from the audience was just abysmal during that time. But good the rest of the year. I don't know. Maybe it's just around this time of year, April, May. I don't know. Maybe it's something people are paying taxes and stuff. I don't know. It was just odd to me that it was the support for the network has been for most parts since we started the network. I'd done my show on other networks from 2007 until 2009. And then in late 2009, started this network and been going ever since. And we've done all right. We've scraped by month to month. This has been really the first month, and around this time last year where things just dropped off almost to zero for us, to the point where, I mean, I wasn't just saying that last year and just saying it again this year. That we don't know if we're going to be able to continue or not. It's not me just saying that. I mean, it was a real legit thing last year and this year. It's hard. One of those things you can't predict when that's going to be and when that's going to happen. And, for me to be in the stage that I'm at right now with this film and the new things that I'm finding, and it's funny is that it's the same way with the CMP stuff. A lot of that stuff, all that stuff really, but besides a lot of the stuff I found from, newer connections and stuff that I made on my own. But, a lot of this, none of this information is new or anything at all. It's been floating around out there for years and years and years, but the people that bring it out are ignored, ridiculed. They attempt to put them in a box. But all the stuff that I'm researching and finding for this film, it's like, every time I've had a thesis, I mean, this is going back years and years of researching the rock wall and in my theories and my things, and referencing those with stuff that I read. Well, for instance, one of the news reports about the rock wall that we've read here on the show talked about this rock-lined room that they had entered in, this chamber, which from what I gather is possibly under the old downtown courthouse of Rockwall. This domed rock chamber where there were two black marble obelisks that the writer described as that they shone like the Orient. Meaning, you know how the Oriental dining ware stuff has that crystalline look to it. Now, it's interesting, and I'll have to find this. I'm planning on finding this and being able to tell you all the details of it. I always try to tell this story and talk about this on the show, and I never have all the particulars together, and I always just fuck it up. But it's just hard to go by memory, man, when you read so much stuff. But I can tell you where it's at. You can find the stuff. It's in Manly P. Hall's book, The Secret Destiny of America. The Secret Destiny of America, I believe is the name of that. But there's a chapter in there where he's talking about this guy in Rome who had, I forget what he was. I guess he had done something in the way of standing up for the. What do they call that? What do they call it when like governments have land or the lords have land, and they grant it to the farmers to grow crops on? Is it sharecroppers? Is that what it is? They granted them to grow, and if they don't meet their quota or whatever, they kick them off the land or whatever and take their land. But this guy had told this story about going down into the underworld somewhere in Africa with these, African tribesmen that sort of sounded like, these tribes that had talked about the Dogon and that sort of thing. And he was taken down in this deep subterranean chamber somewhere that I think Manly P. Hall references being Africa, but, I don't really know for sure. But this gentleman was taken down into this chamber by these ancient tribesmen and shown two black marble obelisk pillars that he said were the pillars of Jachin and Boaz, black marble, shining black marble, and that these were left over after the fall of Atlantis. Now, with all of the things that I've found now, I mean, I'd heard this stuff for a long time, this speculation about America being Atlantis and all this stuff. But my God, I thought it was just kookery and bullshit and stuff, but there really is something to it. I mean, it's a fact that the mound builders there were all of the stuff. Again, west to east, not east to west. That's the main thing we're finding. The mounds, what we see in South America, Mexico, this is all predating the Egyptian stuff, but the Egyptian stuff also we're finding is older than we thought it was as well. So all this stuff is getting pushed back, and that's one of the main reasons why nobody wants to touch this rock wall thing, because we got estimates in upwards of 300 to 500 million years ago this thing was built. And it's some sort of harmonic temple that there are many others alike all around the world where frequency and voice and vibration can actually cause and give you the ability to travel through other dimensions and into other dimensions. And it seems that a lot of these mound builders seem to have had this knowledge as well. The people at Moundsville, again, they don't know who they were, what they were called, anything. They had a flourishing culture and a flourishing civilization there in that area. And they started building the mounds, and then this says this. I've got it in the film. It was on a plaque there at the park where in Moundville, Alabama, and it says clearly right there that after the mounds were completed, the population at Moundville started to decrease immediately. Now, wait a minute. And then you go and research and try to find out why that is. And they say, well, we think it was probably because malaria or something like that. So they spin this yarn where, they built all these mounds and they spent all these hundreds of years building all these mounds only so everybody could die off and just bury themselves in there? No. They didn't ever explain that either. But it does specifically say on that same plaque there, I've got footage of it, that they were aligned to Orion, and they believe that they had the ability to traverse different dimensions. And so and they of course they have the feathered serpent. I didn't realize that the rattlesnake was actually another representation, and also a representation of Quetzalcoatl, the feathered serpent. I also didn't know, you guys heard about it, remember about a year and a half ago, or whenever it was, we talked about it here briefly on the show. And it was, it was one of those things where people that have been into this stuff for years, and astrologists have known about the 13th zodiac sign. Yeah, you're right, Tesla. They have to start getting out of here. That's what it's starting to look like, really. And they weren't the only ones. There were quite a few as well. What was the people out the Hopi, but the Anasazi Indians, I believe. I think they just vanished out of thin air too, didn't they? But I had I was not aware that the rattlesnake also was, the feathered serpent and Quetzalcoatl as well. Was not aware of that, but it's just amazing how much there is of this this feathered serpent and how much it factors into all these different cultures. And gosh, looking at the Mount Popocatépetl volcano being activated, seeing what you guys have obviously been seeing what Venus has been doing with the sun recently, and how Venus is just popping out, sticking out, showing itself. Well, that's it's funny, man. I mean, I'm not necessarily saying I believe in all this return of Quetzalcoatl stuff, but I will say this. I mean, the signs that they said would occur before his return are happening right now. I don't, out of all the imaginary friends and, deities and all this stuff that they prophesied the return of, I never in my time have ever seen any evidence or any things that point in the direction, that would signal that prophesied return of any of these other deities. But with Quetzalcoatl, folks, I mean, there actually are legitimate things going on now that signal his return. Remember, Jesus was based on Quetzalcoatl. And Jesus was well after the worship of the feathered serpent, the plumed serpent, Quetzalcoatl over here in the West. Well after that. But if you study archetypes and you study these different figures, you find that it's just different names. That's what it was. I mean, Buddha, people think there are, there's just one Buddha, but there are actually hundreds, maybe even thousands of different types of Buddhas. And they all represent a different form of expression depending upon the incarnation. You have, all these different types of Buddhas and Hindu gods and stuff as well. What they're representing there are the different incarnations, which to us appear numerous and many. Oh my God, there's hundreds of Buddhas. Oh my God, there's hundreds of these Hindu gods. Blah 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 blah. But really, all they are the outward expressions of the same energy. They're incarnations. And in these different incarnations, during that incarnation, they represent a certain energy and a certain spirit. And that's why when you have an effigy of a Buddha, I have several here that are all different. Kuan Yin, Tara. I have several. I mean, I have all kinds of little, there's a fucking Shiva up here, I've got a little Quetzalcoatl, actually it's a little, what's what they call a cochina, a Navajo cochina, and this one's called a rattle runner, and it's awesome. It's a little dude. I got him in Alabama at Moundville. It's completely made out of wood and leather. It was $8. Has a real feather on top of it. It's a little Quetzalcoatl, dude. And yeah, he's sitting over here on my desk next to my little Horus statue that actually came from Egypt. And my sister walked in here one day and she said, "Mal, your Quetzalcoatl guy over there looks happy sitting next to Horus." I'm like, yeah, it's odd. He actually do. I was looking over there at it. I mean, there's an energy there. I got several things up here on my desk. But what's interesting is that depending upon the depiction that you're dealing with, it has different energies, and they're just like anything else. When you mix them together, the combinations of them give you different energies and different spiritual aspects and stuff. So I've got quite a little plethora over here. But, I'm not, and what I like about these type of things as well is that it's a difference between, like Bill Hicks talked about. Bill Hicks talked about, you know what fucking Jesus had ever come back? Motherfuckers are all wearing crosses. Fuck you, Dad. I'm not going back. I'm not going down there. Fuck them. And that's the messed up thing is this, these don't require worship, or you're not worshiping idols or anything else. It's that any effigy or representation of these different incarnations of this one energy, whether it be Quetzalcoatl or Buddha or Jesus or whatever, all these different incarnations all represent different things for the time in which they incarnate. And it makes you wonder, how come these haven't been updated in a while? You understand what I mean? I mean, for years and years and years, there was, new Buddhas being born, and new ones being venerated, new statues being made, and the rest of that. Same thing with these. But after the rise of Christianity, all that stopped. So if these things have been incarnating all that time up until a certain period in time, how come they're not incarnating anymore? And I think the answer to that is because even if they did, how would you ever know? I mean, hell, your next door neighbor could be the feathered serpent for all you know. You know what I mean? I mean, that's the whole thing. There's a larger question. Is that what all the conditioning and the programming and everything in the brainwashing is for? Is it to ensure that even if the one did incarnate in this day and age, that person would never even realize the full potential of themselves, because the traps are set for you from day one you take your first breath in this world? You're becoming a sovereign slave laborer entity to the corporate state that you're born into. I mean, is that the reason for all this? Is to ensure that, because see, back then, a long time ago, people could be free-born and be a blank slate and not have programming and inundation and with being inundated with culture and all this stuff and television. They can actually go out into the natural world and find out who they really were. That is not possible in today's world for the most part. So is that why we've been in the depths of enslavement for so long? Because, if it's true what all these ancient texts say, I mean, they talk about, Enki was banished to be reincarnated in these fragile human bodies over and over again, and that's who we're talking about when we're talking about these different incarnations. But again, they could be any one of us, me, you, your neighbor, whoever. But because we're not able to try to achieve what we're capable of, nothing ever changes. And I think that's one of the most important reasons that every one of us owes it to ourselves to try and find out as much as we can, to dig as deep as we can, to continue to search and work as hard as we can to know what we can, because we have the possibility of tapping into all this untapped potential that each and every one of us have inside of us. But until now, I've not been able to access it. But see, now we don't have an excuse anymore, do we? Because we know who's doing it. We know who they are. We know what they're up to. We know how long they've been doing it. That's all I've done for 5 years here, folks, is talk about that end of it. Who they are, what they're doing, the rest of it. But now that we know who's doing it, we know for a fact that that's what's going on. Don't you think it's time that we throw away and suspend disbelief for once to get closer to the real truth of what's happening in this world, of what has happened and what will happen? Because again, as I said last night, we can sit around here all day long and talk about Bilderbergers and bankers and Jews till the cows come home, man. But it's not going to get us any closer to realizing the potential we have that has been stifled by this enslavement system that we've all been born into. Let's see what we have here in the email tonight. Thanks so much for being with us. TheGlobalReality.com is my website, where this broadcast originates from. Love to have emails from you anytime. GlobalRealityShow@gmail.com. That's GlobalRealityShow@gmail.com. Anytime you want to send in emails, that is where you send them at. I apologize if I haven't gotten around to your emails lately. I have been getting them. If you sent something the past couple of weeks and you had a specific question for the show and you didn't hear it answered on the show or didn't get an answer from me back and reply in an email, by all means, please, send it again and ask me again. I'll try to cover that on the show at some point. This is from Omar. He says, good evening, Mr. Reeves. I have recently discovered your show and enjoy the way you present your vast research and knowledge. I now look forward to your Moonbat broadcast. Love the Klingon references. I have a 4-year-old who was watching a show on Nick Jr. called Bubble Guppies. Look, Nickelodeon, MTV. Go, you can run down the list. Viacom, dude. Viacom. Sumner Redstone. Okay, look into that guy. You want to talk about Illuminati? You ever seen Network before? Everybody's seen Network, right? It's one of the fucking greatest movies ever made. But there's a scene where Howard Beals, he tells all this inside stuff about this energy deal going down. Pisses off the big boys. And they bring him up, to the top of this building in this room, long table room. It looks like, the classic Council of 13, Committee of 13, high-level black nobility Illuminati round table thing. And, of course, sitting at the other end of the table is, of course, Ned Beatty, who, of course, had to get therapy after making the film Deliverance. You all know why. He literally did. It fucking scarred him. Squeal, boy, squeal. So Ned Beatty said at the end of the table, "You have meddled with the primal forces of nature." I mean, he just, oh man, that fucking scene kills me every time because you just fucked with. You don't even know what you just fucked with. You have no idea. No idea what you just messed with. Sumner Redstone is one of those guys. I would say Sumner Redstone and the Ned Beatty guy in Network are pretty close to one another. Yeah, I mean, I have, so whatever you're about to tell me you saw on Nick Jr., I just want to preface it with that, by saying, yes, anything that comes from Viacom is Illuminati as it comes. Today's episode was about the Mayans and their ruins. Oh, imagine that. Yeah, imagine that, right. Programming the kiddies for the 2012 Mayan apocalypse, are we? They even went as far as searching for Quetzalcoatl. What? Whoa. Pretzel? Like, oh my God, no way. Quetzalcoatl? You are kidding me. Man, that's absolute programming, man. For whatever reason, it's absolute programming. I thought it was weird. Is the mainstream media conditioning our kids for 2012? You know what? I think that brings one of my theories that I've been saying for years here. It kind of brings down a lot more attention to that. To me, I mean, I don't know if this is true or not, but I do know it's true. I mean, I do know this much of it's true. The power of manifestation, the law of attraction, it's a universal absolute. Okay? And if you have enough people focusing their energy and their thoughts on something, you can will it into existence. I mean, if every single one, it's like Ghostbusters. If somebody thought about the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man hard enough, the goddamn Stay Puft Marshmallow Man would appear outside your window. And I've had this theory for a long time that that's what they've been trying to do with the 2012 thing, is to get everybody worldwide to believe, no matter what it is you believe, it doesn't matter, but to believe that it's the end of the world or some great cataclysm is going to happen. Because if enough people on the planet do believe that, folks, I believe beyond any shadow of a doubt that something will occur. If enough people believe that something is going to happen, it can be willed into existence. That's why I have been very careful and very persistent and very consistent as well here on my show over the past 5 years, telling people to not jump and run and go too buck wild off the charts on this 2012 stuff. Take it with a grain of salt. Don't believe, everything you hear about it. Do your own research on it. Look at every angle. But also, because it's such a double-edged sword, you can go either way with it. And that's what most people do, is they go either way with it. And I think both of those are dangerous. You have it's either, and that's how they program us to do about everything, but I don't ever think in most cases it's ever that way. It's never as cut and dried. Nothing is ever as cut and dried as it's ever made out to be. But that's how they always make everything. You're either on this end of the argument, or you're on this end. There's no gray area or middle area. There is gray area. Because I think the people that say that absolutely something's going to happen on December 21st, 2012, and it's the end of the world, blah, 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 I think those people get it wrong just as much as the people on the other end of it that say it's absolute bullshit and it's hogwash and blah, blah, blah. I think both sides of those arguments are wrong because, again, they're dealing in absolutes. And when you're attempting to deal in absolutes with something when you don't have all the information, that's very dangerous because that leaves a lot of room for somebody who actually does have the facts to manipulate those facts in their own favor. So I caution everyone out there you believe what you want. I've got people, believe me, I know people, man, that they believe it's 100%. It's happening. It's a go. I've literally had people say, why are you working on a new film, man? It's going to be all over in December. I said, well, man, it ain't fucking December yet, dude. I still got work to do. Even if I knew for sure it was going to go down, I'd still be doing what I'm doing right now. My God, you can get hit by a truck tomorrow, man. If you got a mission, you got to stay on it, do it. I'm not going to just stop doing what my mission is to do just because the end of the world may or may not happen on December 21st, 2012. But again, it's that, it's dealing in those extremes and not being able, because the extreme keeps you what? It keeps you off balance and it keeps you irrational, doesn't it? Because you're dealing with extremes, and so you're not thinking rationally. You're thinking with your emotions. You're thinking with your heart instead of your head. But thank you, Omar, for pointing that out. I would have never caught that. Bubble Guppies. Bubble Guppies on Nickelodeon Jr. Mayans in their ruins. They were searching for pretzel coatl. And do I think that they're conditioning our kids for 2012? Well, if you'd asked me that question, Omar, before telling me about that piece of footage, I probably would have said, I don't know, probably. But I think the facts are absolutely in. Whenever you see anything like that in every level, and by every level I mean, preschool, toddler, on up to young child and on up to teenager and on up to adult and on up to middle age and on up to seniors. Whenever you see something that is, quote unquote marketed to all those demographics in between from the youngest all the way down to the highest, I don't care what it is, you got to think about how many things out there do we see that are marketed like that. Generally, everything has its demographic, and there are, billions of dollars every year spent focus grouping, products, television shows, movies, music, you name it, to find out what the demographic and the target audience of anything is. Products in the store you buy in the store, who are we marketing this towards? Who's our, who is our crowd? Who's our clientele? And it seems that with the 2012 stuff, they seem that their clientele indeed is everybody. And you've proven that, Omar, here with this piece of information. I mean, my God, Nick Jr., Nickelodeon is for kids. Nick Jr. is for little kids. You know what I mean? I mean, at the same time, I guess it's not all bad. I mean, shit. How much of that stuff was in stuff when we were kids? There was a lot of. I mean, how many of you saw the original Conan the Barbarian with Arnold Schwarzenegger when it came out? I was probably, 8 or 9 when that movie came out, maybe 10. And I can remember it like it's yesterday. Fucking Luke. James Earl Jones is the goddamn reptilian overlord, shapeshifts from a human into a reptilian in that movie in the early 80s. Land of the Lost. That one stuck with me. I never forgot that show. There was some major programming going on that show. It stuck with me. I can remember they made us watch it one time in school, and I'm thinking, why are we watching Land of the Lost in school? And that weird, the Sleestaks, reptilians of the weird obelisk in the room with all those crystal jewels in it. They'd go in there and move them around and warp space-time and shit. And, so I look back on the stuff that I watched when I was a kid and this kind of stuff they were putting in that stuff then. And now it's, I look at it and I go, oh, well, no wonder. Levon Helm from the band passed away last week. Levon Helm was one of my favorite drummers, one of my favorite musicians all around, as he was to many people who like good music. He was just amazing. Just an amazing drummer. Amazing drummer, amazing singer. And he was also in several films, which is funny because when the band broke up, him and Robbie Robertson from the band actually had to, there was some bad blood between them because he felt that Martin Scorsese, who had directed The Last Waltz, had cut the movie in a way to make it, and it does seem like that when you watch it, to make it sort of a vehicle to launch a film career for Robbie Robertson, which, eventually just went nowhere. But what's funny about that is that Levon Helm went on to have, a much more remembered and certainly much more substantial movie career. He was in a bunch of movies that were really good. He was, the one about Loretta Lynn, Coal Miner's Daughter, Sissy Spacek. Come back, Loretta, come back. Yeah, Levon Helm was her dad in that movie. And he was just fantastic. In another movie, and this is a funny story, I was thinking about this when Levon passed away, and I probably hadn't thought about this in years and years and years. And just this will give you a little people. I told a story about when I was a kid a while back, and I don't know. People seem to like that. So here you go. Here's another one. It's just a great story for my childhood, and it's kind of a little indicator of what kind of a weird kid I was. I was, I was on the trail of this stuff almost like it was naturally I was on the trail of this. I can remember, when my dad had back surgery in '86, I was 10, and I can remember him going to the hospital to see my dad, because he had like a couple of ruptured discs or something, and I had checked out these books from the library. One was on UFOs, and one was on the Bermuda Triangle and stuff. And I can remember sitting in the hospital room after he had surgery, reading those books. And I was just always into, I was watching Carl Sagan when I was a little kid. And so my mom used to tell me stories about watching Carl Sagan. I was very into all this stuff from a very, very abnormally early age. And The movie The Right Stuff came out in 1983. I was 7 years old at the time. Levon Helm is in that movie, and he plays a very just a great part in the movie as the narrator and as the friend to Chuck Yeager. That time was the fastest man on earth, breaking all the speed records. And so when Levon Helm died last week, I said, you know what? I hadn't watched that movie in so many years. I think I'm going to download that and watch that tonight. Here I was winding down one night after doing a show and working on the movie. And I'd forgotten what a ridiculously long movie it was. And when I watched it, I started remembering this story. Back when it came out, I remember my aunt Shirley, my mom's sister, one of my favorite aunts in the whole world. She got breast cancer recently, and I heard she's beat it and come through, which is great. Her and my mom both have gotten breast cancer and beat that, which is just awesome. But I remember she had come. Gosh, it was in the middle of the week. It was a school week, I remember. I don't remember what the occasion was. I guess maybe I hadn't seen her in a while or something. But I remember she came and picked me up after school and said she wanted to take me to see a movie. And she told me I could pick out whatever movie I wanted to go see. And the movie that I picked out to go see was The Right Stuff. And I guess I had seen the previews of it or something on TV and saw that it was about space and rockets and all that stuff. So as a young kid, but I had no idea it was a 3-hour-long drama that was, not a lot of action, really, a lot of adult themes and content. Watching it now, like the part where I don't remember what she told me on that or what, if she told me to look away or whatever, but there's a part where Dennis Quaid, they're going through astronaut training, and this, German woman with a stash gives Dennis Quaid this, metal receptacle and, wants to get him to go, jerk a load. A sperm sample. And so I just can imagine my Aunt Shirley being in that theater with me with this little 7-year-old nephew, or Dennis Quaid's having to go jack one. And, I don't remember that, but I know it had to have. I remember there was something, I actually do kind of vaguely remember. There was a couple of times where I kept looking at her and she seemed just embarrassed as hell. She was turning red. And I was like, what? I didn't know I didn't get it. I didn't get what was funny. She was cracking up, And I was watching this movie go the other night, and I just appreciated the stuff that it so much more. And the stuff that I found in my research through Warner von Braun and his stuff with we couldn't, they actually show that in that film. That's so amazing. They show how the truth about how we couldn't get a rocket off the ground, and the next thing you know, here comes the Nazis, the paperclip Nazis. They're working at NASA, and boom, we got rockets flying in the air. And the actors are giving each other Masonic handshakes and everything in that. And my point is that, I can remember by after it was over, it was a long-ass movie. There was an intermission in the middle of it. It was long, over 3 hours, And I think we went in the movie at 6 o'clock. And we got out of there at 9:15. And it was like a Wednesday night at school. I was in 3rd grade or something, man. And I can just remember my Aunt Shirley just being how did you, because after it was over, she was a great movie, but she was just like, how did you know to go see that movie? And I was like, I don't know. I just saw a preview. I thought it'd be good. And I remember going back, she taking me back to my house and told my dad, sorry, he wanted to see this movie. There was kind of some adult things in it. I don't think he really got it anyway. That was what he wanted to see. It was the movie was 3 hours. Sorry, he's back so late, and my dad was just like, "Oh, it's cool, don't worry about it." But I think back on that story. I'm like, God, I mean, what 7-year-old wants to go see a 3-hour space epic? But when I look back on that, my point is that looking back on that, I was like, my God, no wonder I got into this stuff. And then I go look at the Rush record, the lyrics of Rush records I was listening to when I was a teenager. God, no wonder I started reading, it's just mind-blowing, man. It really is. And so my point is, here back to Omar's email, is that, it is, I guess, like everything else, a duality, and like everything else, a double-edged sword, where, you can see the bad of that. You can see the bad of them, attempting to program kids for the 2012 thing. But at the same time, Omar, maybe in the future that something like that could also, if you're able to steer it in the right direction as a parent, something that might be able to, when your child gets older, may have an interest in trying to find the truth out for themselves, So, as much as I'm supposed to have a problem with that, I do see the other side of it sometimes. But there's no doubt they are, as far as the 2012 thing goes, there's definitely some programming going on all ends there. Let's see what else we have. This is from Matt. He says, "Hey, Josh, so I took some video this past Monday. I attempted to do several short landscape sweeps. What spot were you doing? I can't remember. Was it the Cahokia Mounds? Yeah, Cahokia Mounds. Oh, yeah, the ones in Illinois, right? I attempted to do several short landscape sweeps, which I then assume you could stitch together to your liking in a video sequence. However, my camera did not take the motion well, which is my fault. Attempted to go too fast, I think. Most of all, it looks unusable for your official project, but will give you an idea of what there is for me to shoot next week when I'm planning on returning. Now, how can I get this 1 gig of clips and photos to you best? Dropbox. You could do it like that. What I would do, Matt, if you have a YouTube account, just encode it to, as high a bit rate as you can or whatever. You said it's in high def already. Well, just upload to your YouTube channel and make it private. Don't make it public or whatever if you don't want it to be public. And just send it to me and I'll download it off there. I have a program on my Mac. I can just pull it off of YouTube. The biggest thing, you said motion, I guess. I'm not real worried about that. I can slow it down. I got slow-mo and, I can slow those sweeps down. I'm already doing that with some of my footage because you know how it is. I mean, you get out there and you're shooting footage of your adrenaline's rushing. And you're just kind of zipping around the camera too fast. But I can slow all that down and have done some of that. Just, if you want to upload it to a private thing and then send me the link, Matt, and I'll check it out and let you know. And then I'll also tell you what, basically, here's the main thing for next time, Matt. Just use a tripod if you have to. They're cheap if you don't have one. You can get them any Walmart or anywhere really cheap. The main thing is just camera shake. Camera shake's the biggest thing. If the picture's wobbly and stuff, I mean, the servant mounts that we got from our buddy was kind of wobbly and shaky, but it's because it was a walking tour, That's the whole point. He's walking and filming it, so it's going to have a little bit of shake to it, but not too bad where I couldn't use the footage. But that's the main thing. If you just get some good like side back shots where you can then zoom in to the mounds and then zoom back, pan back, and you have that at a couple of different angles. But really, just keeping the image straight and keeping it from wobbling around is the big thing. So there you go. He says, also, I donated a few dollars yesterday. I'm sorry to hear people aren't contributing to your efforts and you're suffering from the results of being conditioned to be passive spectators in life. It seems a major flaw of the internet is it gives people an alter ego land where they can interact without interacting. That is, doing anything in their non-digital existence. Well, I understand there is that, but I mean, the stuff that we talk about, it's going on in the real world. It's not going on in cyberspace. This stuff's going on in the real world. And, this is the medium we have to use currently, the best one we can do to get the message out. So it is sad to say, but most people won't step out on the playing field of life, even when they get the opportunity. Most of this NWO culture is just into gawking at shit online. Never a real proactive step in the right direction. For the reasons you've discovered and shared with us, it seems most people's form of rebellion is merely accessing stories they like the sound of and never fact-checking them or getting involved in any way. God help us all. But until then, let the rest of us make some progress in unveiling what history actually consisted of. Well, thank you, Matt. And yeah, that'll be fine, man. Just go out there and give it another shot. But you can let me, if you want, upload it, and I'll tell you if I can use any of that stuff that you've already got. Yeah, but just some good straight shots and some zoom pans and some back slow pans, whatever. I can slow all that stuff down or speed anything up. I'm really not concerned about that. I'm just concerned about image stability first and foremost. Let's see. This is from Mike. He says, "Hey, Josh, what's up? I've been a Moonbat listener for about 2 years now, and I first heard your work on your Age of Revealing clip on YouTube. That shit really inspired me." Well, that's awesome, man. "I feel bad I don't have money to donate. My mom passed away last September, and the bankster cocksuckers jacked my house because my mom didn't even leave a will. That's an important thing, man. I don't think my dad signed his either, so until I get back on my feet, I'll keep spreading your word on YouTube and Facebook. I made the Alambrados Connection slideshow for you and a few others. If you need help editing stuff, hit me up." Oh, yeah, Alambrados. You're the guy. Okay, Mike is Alambrados on YouTube. Okay. Yeah, dude. Hey, man, I appreciate everything you've done with the videos, Mike. That is your donation, dude. Know what I mean? Keep making those videos, buddy. Keep taking stuff from my show. Keep being inspired. Keep taking it and putting it up there. Keep doing it. You're doing a lot for the cause, man. I promise you. You've helped, you've helped my stuff reach a lot of people with those videos you've made. So please don't stop. Continue doing it. Dude, you are contributing something. That is contributing. You understand? Going out and shooting footage at some place that I can't afford to go drive 2,000 miles to go to or something is contributing. And that's what I've been stressing here for the longest time. And I'm glad that we're starting to see people want to contribute in that way as well, I want everybody to be a part of this. And those of you who donate, and those of you who make videos and put up archives every day, and Manhydra, who runs a website for us, that is a contribution. And I wish I could do more to thank you for doing those things. But, I mean, as you can hear, I can barely scrape by over here myself doing this, but you are a part of this. I want you to know. Each and every one of you, all of you out there who do whatever it is, even if it's you just go post a bunch of videos and links to the show on MySpace or Facebook, that's a contribution. That's something. You're at least trying. You're at least not just sitting on your hands, not saying, hey, are you interested in information? Are you interested in knowing what the really, trying to get an idea what the hell's going on in this world? Well, I know this guy, and he doesn't have all the answers either, but shit, he's trying. Here, listen to his show, watch his movie. That's contributing. We're going to take a break, come back, and get into news for you here. All right, back here with you on the Global Reality, right here on the Global Reality Radio Network with me, your host, Josh Reeves. Thanks for being here with us tonight for another late-night Moonbat edition of the broadcast. Lots more to get into with you here tonight on the show. Thanks for staying up late with us. TheGlobalReality.com is my website. Come on, microphone. Work with me here. Oh, man. I'd put some duct tape on this thing. There we go. TheGlobalReality.com is my website. Up there at the website, you can find links to the archive shows, all my documentary films I've made up to this date, including the Sea Right Volume 2 on DVD and Blu-ray, which you can buy up there. We also have a sponsor tab up there with one sponsor on it you can go and visit. Check out what they have there. Get yourself some stuff that you're missing in your diet, for sure. And we also have the Chip and Banner and the donate button there as well. Monthly subscriptions. We have a P.O. Box if you absolutely can't use PayPal. And, yeah, if we can get a couple $100 more bucks in here this week by like Friday, and then the rest of the Chip and Banner, we have about $450 to go. So if we can get another 200 or so by Friday, and the rest, I guess, by like Monday, we'll be good to go. Again, thanks to everybody who has gotten us a lot closer. If you haven't donated and supported us yet, we do really need that support so we can get the bills for the month paid. And usually we have like a week to do it, but because the first falls on Tuesday next week, we have to kind of do it a week early. It's just kind of the way it goes here. So just please support our work if you can so we can continue and to get this vital information out. And I don't know. With this new film, I may end up making 3 volumes of this. I don't know. Because I know that even once I make the first volume, which will be out, I'm pushing for July, for volume 1 to be out so we can use the summertime. I'm not digging up a goddamn turnip in summertime in Texas, much less trying to do a dig. Y'all think I'm crazy? I am crazy, but I ain't fucking nuts. It'll be 115 or 20 out there degrees out there. We try to dig up a wall. F that. We ain't doing that. So I've really been trying to stay on the schedule of the film, and I have it pretty mapped out as far as staying on the schedule to get what we need to get done. So volume 1 I want to have out by July. We'll use the rest of the summer to promote the film and try to get some interest on interest up for financiers, investors, people that want to actually get behind a real actual dig for the rock wall and put some money behind it to get it done. And, you know, it's not going to cost a whole lot of money, but it's a whole lot of money to me. But in the grand scope of things and the possibilities, what we may uncover here and the links at which we may further the knowledge of all people and to further our understanding, you can't put a price on it. So then once that's achieved, I'll make a part 2 of the film, which will include the dig and that kind of stuff. But there's also, there's just so much of this. As I was saying last night, it's just all the other things that I've ever researched. That it's not that I don't think they're important anymore. It's just that they all seem to pale in comparison to this. But this is also an extension of that. Our entire country here in the United States of America is based on a lie. Its foundations are a lie. And for the people who have fought and died and given their lives for the ideas that they believed this country actually stood for, we owe it to them to get some real truth out about this. Because the people to this day, and they are every day, going and fighting and dying for a country that is based on a lie. And I don't just mean lying about weapons of mass destruction and lying about, I'm not talking about all that. I'm talking about wholesale genocide of a people who had knowledge of a previous people who existed here on this continent, who had vast knowledge, vast technology, and every single person at the top of our government back to day one, square one, George Washington, had been complicit. And I think that to me also brings a lot more credibility to some of the stuff that I've read, the possibilities of Kennedy revealing the findings of this ancient extraterrestrial technology near Rockwall, Texas, and coming to give a speech at the International Trade Mart concerning these alleged findings. It's a fact that he had a double set of notes. He had a handwritten speech. He had one that was pre-prepared and one that he had prepared himself to go off of. And that would make a lot more sense as to why they killed him. I mean, obviously, he was putting his penis in everything. That was one of the reasons. We talked about that last week. One of the main, if not the main reason. But when you look at this line of succession of presidents, I can't find one before Kennedy that seemed to have the ability to blow the lid on hundreds of years of a cover-up that's been ongoing in the United States. That's why they wanted this country to grow and rise in the way that it has. That's why the United States of America, it makes so much more sense now to me. That's why they wanted, why do you think we were allowed by the world power structure to become, what the United States of America became? We like to think it's because we're the best in American ingenuity and blah, 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 blah. Bullshit. They needed this country. Why do you think it's bring us your tired, your poor, your restless masses? Yeah, bring us everybody. Why do you think the borders have been wide open? Yeah, get everybody over here. Let's overpopulate the piss out of this place so we can build and build and build and tear down and destroy in the name of having to make room for all these people. And our entire country was set up on the foundations of a cover-up, and that cover-up continues to this day. But again, I could go. I'm sorry. I'm just so into this. Is where my head's at right now. My head is not in, all this other horse shit. That's why I'm talking about it so much. And again, that's what I was talking about earlier, man. It's very difficult, making a film and doing a radio show at the same time is a difficult thing. So I apologize in advance over the coming months if I don't do shows every single day. I'm gonna try my best to do as many shows as I possibly can all the time. I always do. There is never a day where I just do a show just because I don't want to. It's not that I don't ever feel like not wanting to do one. I always feel like wanting to do a show. Why do you think I started doing a Sunday night music show too? Which, by the way, will be back this week. It was going to be back this past week. My fucking flash drive died, so I couldn't get my tunes over to the other box. But I'm not going to get up here for the sake of doing a show every day and just ramble on about nonsense or repeat myself or beat you over the head with shit you've already heard. I'm not going to do that. I'd rather spend that time working on the films and stuff. And that's so that's kind of that's the whole thing is that. And not, and also not having a budget to work with on the film is difficult as well. We had a travel budget. But that was, gas, travel expenses, gone. So now we have, we're about $300 or $400 away from being able to have enough to pay the bills for the month. But then there's going to be zero once the bills are paid. That's the whole thing nobody ever gets as well. Then once the bills are paid, that's all well and fine. But then zero. We have nothing. No operating budget, no film budget, no survival budget, nothing. So, that's why my films up to this point have taken 2 years to be made and come out. Because when you're just trying to scrape month to month to have enough money to, survive and whatever else, you don't have a budget to work with on the films, and there's just stuff that always, that's one of the main things that's trying, is there's always stuff that comes up, that you need money for that you don't have. For instance, all the time I'll be researching stuff, and I'll be on the brink of finding, out a big piece of research. And then I find, okay, well, I got it, I need this book. So I do like what everybody does. I go and try to find it for free. No dice. I go and try to find, on Amazon or like a Kindle type ebook thing. Go try to find it over there 99% of the time. No dice. They don't have it. It's some obscure book that they don't have in digital format. And then I go look to try to see how much to find a copy of the book. And then I go look it up on Amazon, and it's $25 to get this book that I need. And, and this happens a lot, or it's, or I all of a sudden, okay, well, I need to have this piece of footage for this. Well, that costs, $100. Okay. So then I don't have that $100 to buy that piece of footage, or I don't have $50 to buy this book. And it's like, these things, you as much as you try to plan ahead for things, you can't plan ahead for things like that happen in the course of making a film. And when you have a budget to work with, to be able to immediately go and buy that book to further the film and to further the information you're getting at, you just come to a standstill. Your work just comes to a complete standstill. And that's kind of what I've been dealing with the past few years as I've been making films is, I'll get some work done. I'll get a little support, get a little help. I'll get some work done. And then, once that resource is depleted, and then, we're at a standstill again. But I'm just thankful that there's been so many people out there who have been volunteering to go out and shoot footage for us. That's just fantastic. And somebody had said something about some stuff in the UK. I'm going to leave the UK stuff up to the UK people. I think they've got that pretty well handled. I mean, if there's any hidden stuff there, sure, but I mean, you guys are pretty good at excavating things. Here in the United States, what I'm focusing on in this film is just specifically, it's kind of opposite of what my show has kind of ever been about. My show has always from day one, that's why I called it the Global Reality, has been to sort of show people that the reality of this conspiracy is a global one. But, if you listen to most of the conspiracy shows or truther shows and stuff like that, 98% of them make this out to be something that's only going on in the United States and not going on anywhere else. Well, not so much anymore. It's pretty obvious it's going on everywhere now, but it used to be that's how it was. So I'm kind of flipping that around with this new film and just focusing on specifically the stuff here in the United States because a lot of it is so much older. A lot of it it's just so buried. I mean, we're building Walmarts and Sam's Clubs on top of ancient sites. And supposedly a lot of these ancient sites and these mounds are like data centers. They have information encoded in them if we can just learn how to be able to see the language that they're speaking with. And I'll be 100% honest with you, and you can call me a kook or a nut or anything else. When I was in Moundville, Alabama, I got the impression what those mounds told me personally, and probably I don't know if they've ever told anybody else that they probably have. Whether or not anybody's ever repeated to somebody else, I don't know. But I'll give you the 100% straight, uncut dope of what they told me. Inside of my head, in my being, in my spirit, they told me exactly what I, pretty much already knew, although I didn't really know much about the site before I went there. Just like the people in, ancient Samaria or the Anasazi Indians or whoever it may be, there's all these different tribes. They didn't just disappear off the face of the planet or die from famine and smallpox and all that, although we didn't help anything. You guys know about the smallpox blankets, right? The United States government distributed blankets laced with smallpox to wipe out Native Americans. It's a fact. And it's because they had this knowledge of these even more ancient race of people, and they were the last surviving link in line with this knowledge. Same thing that they did in South America. Look what they've done to South America over the past 100 years. My God. Same reason. These crusaders who are committing genocide in the Middle East. And the Crusades 2.0, the modern day Crusades, have been crusading in this country since day one as well for the same purpose and agenda. Collection of antiquities, creating of a new narrative, and hiding the real truth and the real past. And so, yeah, I'm just going to be focusing on this part of the world. But there was something I was going to say. I think it was something in an email somebody had sent. I'm trying to remember what it was. Or maybe that was on. Let me look over here. Oh, I remember what it was. Let me just a second here. People send me messages. What it is? Sometimes I'll go, where did that email go? I can't find it. But I forget that people send me messages on Facebook. People send me messages on email. They send me messages on YouTube, and it all gets jumbled together sometimes. And I can't remember who asked what. This came in from the Global Reality Facebook page, by the way. Yeah, I think I mentioned this last night. 612 likes on our page. If all 612 of those people could donate $2 a month, we would be all gravy all the time. 600 people. And I know that Facebook represents a small portion of our listening audience. But think about that. If 600 of our listeners, and I know there's way more than 600 of you out there, because I'll get 50 or 100 emails a day from different people. But if 600 of you committed to $2 a month, we would never have to worry about not having what we need to operate here every month. Drew has a question. He says, good stuff you're doing investigating ancient America. Your explanation of the energies around some sites made me think of Sedona. That got me wondering about the area. Have you ever heard of the Anasazi, the Sinagua tribes who mysteriously disappeared? Yep, from the Sedona region between 12 and 1400 AD. Very interesting stuff and very unexplained. Yes, indeed, Drew, and I wanted to address this on air because it was just a lot to type out, on a little Facebook thing. But yeah, what's amazing is they actually have come up in my research recently, specifically in the Quetzalcoatl stuff and the feathered serpent stuff, because they were all the Anasazi and all those people that disappeared as well. Yeah, they have the exact same correlations and the same type of knowledge that the people in Ohio or Texas or Alabama or wherever it may be had as well. So yes, Drew, I do plan on at least trying to cover some of that in the film. Yeah, absolutely. Definitely ties right in. You're on the right track. Yep. That's what I'm finding. All this stuff. All of the ancient sites in the United States, if you can find a site or anything, and the thing is, they're all around us. There are mounds. There's a book. Oh, damn it. I dropped it. Shit. I can't get to it. It's on the... Let me see if I can find the name. There's a book out there that some of you listeners out there need to get. Let me see here. It's called... it's about mounds, and it's called The Nephilim Chronicles, a travel guide to the ancient ruins in the Ohio Valley. And it's not just Ohio Valley. It has... it says, this is your guide to the mysterious world of the Allegwe Hopewell mound builders. 222 mound and earthwork sites have been photographed with directions provided in Ohio, Indiana, Kentucky, West Virginia, and Michigan. The Elegwe Hopewell worshiped their ancestors and believed the dead were part of a mystified past that formed a collective that would govern the future. Great efforts were made to house the remains of their kings and queens within the burial mounds. The earthen and stone temples were constructed to venerate the Sun Father and the Earth Mother. Discover the solar alignments of the solstices and equinox within the geometric and hilltop earthenworks. Learn the signs within the natural landscape at mound and earthwork sites that were part of the worship of the Earth Mother. This publication reveals for the first time the secrets of the ancient civilization known as the Elegwe Hopewell, who deserved to take their place among the Egyptians, Greeks, and Romans as people known for conquest, building, and empire. So the Nephilim Chronicles, a travel guide to the ancient ruins of the Ohio Valley by Fritz Zimmerman. If you live in Ohio, Indiana, Kentucky, West Virginia, or Michigan, I command you to buy a copy of this book because you're going to thank me later because I know, dude, I got a copy of it. It's got directions straight up right to all of these locations. And, a lot of this stuff, they just look like hills. And it really made me start to think about, well, out in East Texas, around the area where a lot of my family lives, where my dad's buried at, just driving there back and forth from Dallas my whole life, being very familiar with that landscape, seeing that landscape my whole life. There are areas between Dallas and down there in East Texas where off in the distance you can see what, they almost look like mountains. They're so big with trees on them, but this is not a mountainous region or a hilly region at all. And come to find out, there's some mounds down there, that area. And after seeing some of these pictures in this Nephilim Chronicles book, and seeing some of these mounds that they found in Georgia, near where that story where they alleged they had found some Mayan ruins in Georgia a few months ago. Well, what they found there are some mounds, and it just looks like a hill of dirt with trees growing out. And those are all over the place. And it got me, thinking that, my God, what we think are hills and stuff like that, just natural formations. I don't know if any of them are actual natural formations. It really gets you questioning that when you look at it. Man, I had so much news here tonight. Really, a lot of important stuff I need to cover, but hey, that'll just give us more material. I just don't. It's late. It's already like 3:30. I got to get back to working on this film. I think I'm going to forgo the news tonight, and we'll that'll ensure that we will for sure have a show tomorrow, which I know will make a lot of you out there happy. So let's just forgo the news tonight. We'll get into that tomorrow. If I cover some stuff that's already old news to you by then, forgive me. I've got a big plate of it here, and I do want to get into a lot of it. If it was just stuff I believe me, I whittled it down. I mean, I went through a lot of stuff. I was like, I could cover that, and I didn't. So I've got it whittled down pretty good. I just have gotten kind of in a role and in the mindset of talking about this stuff tonight. So, forgive me. We'll get back into that news and stuff for you here tomorrow night on the show. I'd like to get into our reading now here. C.W. Ledbetter, The Astral Plane, Its Theory, Inhabitants, and Phenomena. I'm going to back up just a tiny bit where we left off last time. A still more serious aspect of this question will come before us when we discuss this artificial elemental. But in regard to the essence, it will be sufficient to state that we undoubtedly have the power to accelerate or delay its evolution according to the use of which, consciously or unconsciously, we are continually making of it. It would be hopeless within the limits of such a treatise as this to attempt to explain the different uses to which the forces inherent in the manifold varieties of this elemental essence can be put by one who has been trained in their management. The vast majority of magical ceremonies depend almost entirely upon its manipulation, either directly by the will of the magician or by some more definite astral entity evoked by him for that purpose. By its means, nearly all the physical phenomena of the seance room are produced, and it is also the agent in most cases of stone throwing or bell ringing in haunted houses. Such results as these latter being brought about either by blundering efforts to attract attention made by some earthbound human entity or by the mere mischievous pranks of some other minor nature spirits belonging to our third class. Let me get a drink real quick. Note to self, never start reading when your mouth is already dry. But the elemental must never be thought of as itself a prime mover. It is simply a latent force, which needs an external power to set it in motion. It may be noted that although all classes of the essence have the power of reflecting images from the astral light as described above, there are varieties which receive certain impressions much more readily than others, which have, as it were, favorite forms of their own into which, upon disturbance, they would naturally flow, unless absolutely forced into some other in such shapes, and tend to be a trifle less effervescent than usual. Before leaving this branch of the subject, it may be well to warn the student against the confusion of thought into which some have fallen through failing to distinguish this elemental essence, which we have been considering, from the monadic essence manifesting through the mineral kingdom. It must be borne in mind that monadic essence, at one stage of its evolution towards humanity, manifests through the elemental kingdom, while at a later stage it manifests through the mineral kingdom. But the fact that two bodies of monadic essence at these different stages are in manifestation at the same moment, and that one of these manifestations, the earth elemental, occupies the same space as and inhabits the other, say a rock, in no way interferes with the evolution either one of one or the other, nor does it imply any relation between the bodies of monadic essence lying within both. Whatever that means, Jesus. If you can't dazzle them with brilliance, you got to baffle them with bullshit, eh? The rock will also be permeated by its appropriate variety of the omnipresent jiva, or life principle. But that, of course, is again totally distinct from either of the essences above mentioned. Number 2, the kamarupas of animals. This is an extremely large class, yet it does not occupy a particularly important position on the astral plane, since its members usually stay there but a very short time. The vast majority of animals have not as yet acquired permanent individualization. And when one of them dies, the monadic essence which has been manifesting through it flows back again into the particular stratum whence it came, bearing with it such advancement or experience as has been attained during that life. It is not, however, able to do this quite immediately. The kamic aura of the animal forms itself into a kamarupa, just as in man's case, and the animal has a real existence on the astral plane, the length of which, though never great, varies according to the intelligence which it has developed. In most cases, it does not seem to be more than dreamily conscious, but appears perfectly happy. The comparatively few domestic animals who have already attained individuality and will therefore be reborn no more as animals in this world have a much longer and much more vivid life in the Kamaloka than their less advanced fellows, and at the end of it sink gradually into a subjective condition which is likely to last for a very considerable period. One interesting subdivision of this class consists of the Kamarupas of those anthropoid apes mentioned in The Secret Doctrine of Helena Blavatsky, Volume 1, page 184, who are already individualized and will be ready to take human incarnation in the next round, or perhaps some of them even sooner. Number 3, nature spirits of all kinds. So many and so varied are the subdivisions of this class that to do them anything like justice, one would need to devote a separate treatise to this subject alone. Some characteristics, however, they all have in common, and it will be sufficient here to try and give some idea of those. To begin with, we have to realize that we are here dealing with entities which differ radically from all that we have hereto considered. Though we may rightly classify the elemental essence and the animal Kamarupa as non-human, the monadic essence which manifests itself through them will, nevertheless, in the fullness of time, evolve to the level of manifesting itself through some future humanity comparable to our own. And if we were able to look back through the countless ages on our own evolution in previous Manvantaras, we should find that which is now ourselves has passed on its upward path through similar stages. That, however, is not the case with the vast kingdom of nature spirits. They neither have been nor ever will be members of a humanity such as ours. Their line of evolution is entirely different. And their only connection with us consists in our temporary occupancy of the same planet. Of course, since we are neighbors for the time being, we owe neighborly kindness to one another when we happen to meet. But our lines of development differ so widely that each can do but little for the other. Many writers have included these spirits among the elementals, and indeed they are the elementals, or perhaps to speak more accurately, the animals of a higher evolution. Though much more highly developed than our elemental essence, they have yet certain characteristics in common with it. For example, they also are divided into 7 great classes, inhabiting respectively the same 7 states of matter already mentioned as permeated by the corresponding varieties of the essence. Thus, to take those which are most readily comprehensible to us, there are spirits of the earth, water, air, and fire, or the ether. That's interesting. I've never seen the ether be called the fire. Earth, water, air, and fire is also the ether. That's interesting. Definite, intelligent astral entities residing and functioning in each of those media. It may be asked how it is possible for any kind of creature to inhabit the solid substance of a rock or the crust of the earth. Oh, remember, you guys have heard my theme song for the show, right? Only the cool people know where that song comes from anyway. The people who have asked me what that song is, I've considered those people not the cool people. Those who know what it is without having to ask, you're the cool people. But that was one of my favorite movies when I was a kid. Peter Weller, John Lithgow, Jeff Goldblum, Buckaroo Banzai, Across the Fourth Dimension. And that's what Buckaroo Banzai was. His parents were like adventurers or some stuff, physicists. And, they shoot this. He travels at a high rate of speed and shoots a laser into a solid piece of rock and travels it through the fourth dimension. And there's all these kind of interdimensional entities in there that are, trying to get out. If you've never seen that movie, it's a cult classic. It may be asked how it is possible for any kind of a creature to inhabit the solid substance of a rock or the crust of the earth. The answer is that since the nature spirits are formed of astral matter, the substance of the rock is no hindrance to their motion or their vision. And furthermore, physical matter in its solid state is their natural element. the only one to which they are accustomed and in which they feel at home. The same is, of course, true of those who live in water, air, or ether. In medieval literature, these earth spirits are often called gnomes, while the water spirits are spoken of as undines, the air spirits as sylphs, and the ether spirits as salamanders. Well, that's interesting. Air spirits known as sylphs. I've seen people refer to those heart-blasted chemtrails as sylphs before. And, I've never heard that. Ether spirits being salamanders? That's strange. All I can think of is fucking Benjamin Fulford saying the Illuminati put a salamander in his spinal cord. That's some motherfucking moonbat kookery right there, if I ever heard of it.
You need to get down on your knees and worship. Worship me! You piece of shit, Benjamin Fulford. I put a motherfucking salamander in your back, bitch.
Oh, God. Oh, you can't go day without Satan poking in there, can you? Stay away, Satan. You bastard. Go back down to your pit. Salamanders. In popular language, they are known by many names. Fairies, pixies, elves, brownies, Paris, djinns. Oh, the djinns. We talked about those. Trolls, satyrs, fauns, kobolds, imps, goblins, good people, etc. Good what? How does that make sense? Goblins, brownies, elves, pixies, fairies, trolls, and then good people. We've called them good people. Oh, those are good people. So anybody who's good people is also a brownie, elf, a troll, a pixie, a fairy, a djinn, or a troll. That's fucked up. Trolls are not good people. I'll tell you that for damn sure. Some of these titles being applied only to one variety and others indiscriminately to all. Their forms are many and various, but most frequently human in shape and somewhat diminutive in size. You know, we've been talking about these giants and stuff and this ancient race of people inhabited Earth, the red hair giants. And it hit me like a ton of bricks, man. We have the State Fair of Texas here in Dallas. Dallas on the 33rd degree parallel. Since the 1950s, do you know what I remember going as a kid and seeing it. My parents went as a kid and saw it. At the State Fair of Texas every year here in Dallas, the mascot of the State Fair is Big Tex. Go to Google and type in Big Tex. State Fair of Texas, Big Tex, and it'll come. There's a Wikipedia page for it. And they actually make real clothes for this thing. He's got the largest pair of Dickies pants ever made, the largest Stetson ever made. And it's this giant, and when you go into the fairgrounds in that Fair Park in Dallas, when they have the fair, he talks, and they always used to have a guy, with a megaphone. Well, howdy, folks. Welcome to the State Fair of Texas. And it hit me like a ton of bricks. God damn, everything's bigger in Texas, isn't it? And I was like, oh man, the Giants. There it is. And then that got me thinking about, Paul Bunyan. Paul Bunyan was a giant. What about John Henry, the steel driving man? He was a giant. And then you got Gulliver's Travels, and you got the little people. Like almost all inhabitants of the astral plane, they were able to assume any appearance at will. But they undoubtedly have definite forms of their own, or perhaps we should rather say favorite forms, which they wear when they have no special object in taking any other. Of course, under ordinary conditions, they are not visible to physical sight at all, but they have the power of making themselves so by materialization when they wish to be seen. There are an immense number of subdivisions or races among them, and individuals of these subdivisions differ in intelligence and disposition precisely as human beings do as well. The great majority of them apparently prefer to avoid man altogether. His habits and emanations are distasteful to them, and the constant rush of astral currents set up by his restless, ill-regulated desires disturbs and annoys them. On the other hand, instances are not wanting in which nature spirits have, as it were, made friends with human beings and offered them such assistance as lay in their power. As in the well-known stories told of the Scotch brownies or of the firefighting fairies mentioned in spiritualistic literature, this helpful attitude, however, is comparatively rare. And in most cases, when they come in contact with man, they either show indifference or dislike, or else take an impish delight in deceiving him and playing childish tricks upon him. Many a story illustrative of this curious characteristic may be found among the village gossip of the peasantry in almost any lonely mountainous district. And anyone who has been in the habit of attending seances for physical phenomena will recollect instances of practical joking and silliness, though usually good-natured horseplay, which always indicates the presence of some of the lower orders of the nature spirits. They are greatly assisted in their tricks by the wonderful power which they possess of casting a glamour over those who yield themselves to their influence, so that such victims for the time see and hear only what these fairies impress upon them, exactly as the mesmerized subject sees, hears, feels, and believes whatever the magnetizer wishes. The nature spirits, however, have not the mesmerizer's power of dominating the human will, except in the case of quite unusually weak-minded people, or of those who allow themselves to fall into such a condition of helpless terror that their will is temporarily in abeyance. They cannot go beyond deception of the senses, but of that art they are undoubted masters. And cases are not wanting in which they have cast their glamour over a considerable number of people at once. It is by invoking their aid in the exercise of this peculiar power that some of the most wonderful feats of the Indian jugglers are performed, the entire audience being in fact hallucinated and made to imagine that they see and hear a whole series of events which have not really taken place at all. Now, what's interesting about that, we were talking about Indian jugglers doing that, right? And the CIA did the exact same thing in the 1960s. The electric Kool-Aid acid test, the CIA literally took a bunch of people, set up a concert, made all these people, sold tickets, made everybody think the Grateful Dead was playing. Everybody showed up for the concert. They dosed everybody with LSD at the door. They had dry ice, smoke machines, lights, the whole thing. They played a recording of the Grateful Dead playing a live show from a previous show they had played weeks before, played it through the PA and had smoke and lights and everything, and 2,000 people or however many people were there in that theater that night had a simultaneous trip with every single person there in attendance believing at the end of the night and believing for the rest of their lives that they actually saw the Grateful Dead play. But it's been proven beyond any shadow of a doubt that they have not, because there have been bootleg recordings that have come out from that show, and people have put them up against the tapes that they pulled them from, which were a previous show from a couple weeks before that. And since, there's such a catalog of people who have cataloged Grateful Dead recordings, there are people out there who've actually taken the recordings and put them right up next to each other and shown that they're the same concert. But that's absolutely the fact they've done that. And again, the power of suggestion, I think that same kind of thing, as we were discussing earlier, is what they're trying to do with 2012. Absolutely, the power of suggestion, suggesting that to us so that we will manifest something. Interesting stuff. TheGlobalReality.com is my website. If you haven't supported our work, please do so. Help us get the rest of away of our chipping banners so we can get things handled and get our work done, folks. Thanks to everybody who has donated. And we're going to keep on soldiering on, folks. I'm excited about what we're going to do this year with all of you out there. I'm excited about the fact that everybody's wanting to really get involved in this. I'm happy that you guys have spoken and want this to continue. And so Thank you from the bottom of my heart, and I hope everybody out there continues to support us as well. If you haven't supported, it's your turn. My name is Josh Reeves. I love each and every one of you, and we'll see you tomorrow for the show. You guys have a great night. Take care.